to this computer. Oh God, I hate that voice. But we did it. Okay, so hello and welcome to our virtual discussion of author Kayla Joy's Hooverville. Here is a copy of it for Tina. We have Kayla here today to talk about her book with us. We also have copies of Hooverville here in the store as well, and I will put a link in the chat box so you can get it online if you wish. Kayla Joy is an author and artist living in the Pacific Northwest with her many animals. At 21, she has already self-published 2 books, Morbid Tales from Behind the Mirror, available on Amazon, and her first novel, Hooverville. You can follow her journey at kaylajoybooks.com. After a discussion, if we want, we can do a little audience Q&A, so get your questions ready if you'd like. We plan to record the event, as you heard, so if you don't want to appear on video, please keep your cameras disabled. Please keep your mics muted most of the time. When it is time for an audience question and answer session, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you to unmute yourself and ask the author a question. All right, so Kayla, can you tell us a bit about Hooverville?
Hooverville is about Annaleise Winston. It takes place in 1932, and Annaleise Winston is a socialite who is engaged to a very, very bad man named Frank. And in order to kind of break away from the life predestined for her, she runs away and ends up stranded in a Hooverville, which is a homeless encampment during the Great Depression. And it's all about I'm blanking on the word. It's all about putting yourself out there for something bigger than yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing I wanted to ask about Hooverville, it's a historical fiction. It takes place in, could you remind me what decade? The 30s?
1932.
1932 in New York, right? In New York. So why historical fiction for your first novel? Why not something more contemporary? Like, what do you love about the 1930s that made you want to write this?
So honestly, I didn't ever see myself writing historical fiction, and I don't think I ever want to write another one again. But, for this book, it was one of those things that if I didn't write it, who was going to? Mm-hmm. And it just kept gnawing at me. And yeah, I'm really glad that I put it out there, even though I don't plan on doing another historical fiction.
I'm guessing I mean, it could possibly work as a contemporary book, but it's more, I feel like the story works better in the 30s, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you read it, you can definitely take the lessons and the morals of the story and apply it to, your everyday life. And that's kind of why I liked writing about it. But one of the things I like about historical fiction is that you do have that kind of ability to reflect on it and apply it to your own life. And I think that's why it works. Because, I mean, even in Olympia, you still see Hoovervilles everywhere. It's not like it's something that's over. And so I really wanted it to be something that you read it and then you see it in your own life and okay, this isn't right. This is something we have to fix. And yeah, and that's been really fun to see people's reaction to that.
So would Olympia's Hoovervilles, did they inspire did any of that going around here inspire anything in the book?
I wrote Hooverville right after I graduated high school, and I went to high school in Olympia. So it was something that, we had discussions about it in high school. It was like, what should we do about the homeless problem? And I mean, I was an 18-year-old, what was I going to say? And I heard all these teachers and stuff going, well, they got themselves in this mess, they should get themselves out. And I remember going like, that's not right. Maybe that's not the attitude to have. But it wasn't until the summer after I graduated that I started it. And, I wrote it and took it to a writing group, and they kind of tore me apart. They were like, this is never going to work. So I put it away for a year. And I was I was on a road trip with a family member, and we passed Seattle, Hooverville. And she said that again, they got themselves in this mess. They should get themselves out. Why is it my responsibility? And so I just started talking to her about Hooverville and all the lessons that I learned from writing it. And she stopped at a red light, and she gave a homeless man $5. And it was kind of at that point where I was like, maybe I can change people's like opinions on this. And then, after writing it, driving around Olympia, seeing it and seeing how nothing was being done, that was really hard for me.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything else that made you want to write Hooverville besides this homeless message?
I really love Titanic.
Okay, yeah, that's valid.
So I wanted to write something on as grand of a scale as Titanic in my head, my, baby 18-year-old head. I was like, I want to write a Jack and Rose love story, and it just so happened that that was Hooverville.
I have a friend, I think since high school, they watch Titanic once a month, which I don't know if I could ever
endure that.
Yeah, I don't think I could for any movie. So I really respect them for doing that.
I don't watch it so much anymore, but while I was writing, I did listen to the Titanic soundtrack.
Oh my god,
because it's so great.
And I can't deal with that right now. I can't deal with the feels from that soundtrack. Celine Dion, Burying the Sea. Okay, so for writing a historical novel, what research did you have to do to make it feel like we were in 1930?
Weird little things. Like, I remember specifically trying to find out what cuss words they used in 1932 and being very disappointed that it was pretty much all the same cuss words as now.
Dang it.
Fashion choices, wordplay mostly. You wouldn't think, you'd think it would be more, but it was just really little details that probably no one would pay any attention to, but because you learn about the details, it really makes it immersive.
Because they didn't really have like transatlantic accents like they do in King Kong or any of the movies.
In movies, no.
They talk real.
Yeah. I remember being like, I've spent the last 8 hours trying to find the cuss words they used in 1932, and I'm proud to announce that they're all exactly the same. Nothing's changed.
Did during your research, did you find any slang that they might have used back then that they don't use now?
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it. I can't remember any right now, but I know that I made up one for the book, and that was the people who lived in the Hooverville. They were called villains, which I was very proud of at the time. They're like, I'm so tired of these villains.
That's great, though. I mean, if I couldn't find something, I'd also make some. That sounds great. I love that.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything surprising while conducting your research, besides the fact that apparently they had exactly the same cuss words as we did?
Yeah, so I had never heard of the Bonus Army, which is a group of soldiers from World War I who, they'd lost their homes, their jobs, pretty much all their money in the crash of 29. And they were promised this bonus for being in World War I. And so when 1932 rolled around, they were all demanding their bonuses. And they stormed Washington, D.C., and they were called the Bonus Army. And the police attacked them for protesting and asking for these bonuses. So that was something I didn't know about. And that attack took place in Hooverville. So the second half of the book takes them to Washington, D.C. so they can participate in the Bonus Army protest. And that was something that wasn't in the first draft. I'd never heard about it because they don't teach it. I'd never heard about it until I reached out to the Central Park historian named Sarah Cedar Miller. And we had lots of phone calls and emails about it. And she was like, "You've never heard of the bonus army?" So that completely changed the trajectory of the book.
How was it working with a Central Park historian?
It was cool. It was a bit of a surreal experience because she kept saying, like, she doesn't get to talk to people very often. Like, people don't really care. So, here was this like plucky 19-year-old showing up and being like, "Tell me everything that happened in this summer." And I really enjoyed it, and I think she really enjoyed it.
That's great. I mean, what a cool resource.
Yeah.
Did she, so besides the bonus, what did you say? Bonus army, bonus soldiers?
The bonus army.
The bonus army. Besides that, did anything else, like while working with this historian, influence the plot? Did she know of any swear words?
She mostly it was kind of cool because most of it I just wrote based on my own imagination of what happened, based on like small facts. And she basically confirmed that what I had written was almost 100% accurate, which was pretty validating for me.
Pretty good.
And made me happy that I didn't have to do too many edits. Because at that point I was done.
So what did the story look like before you found out about the bonus army?
Without giving too much away. So it was not too much changed. Story beats wise, it was just the location of where it happened. And there was a scene where it's just a random police officer encounter in the park that was then changed to the bonus army attack. And so it all kind of fit really well with the timing, the pacing. It was easy to just like transfer it right on top. And
was it the same exact day, or did you have to change like the year or anything so it lined up with this?
It was the same date.
Oh.
The story took place in July and the bonus army was at the end of July. So it was really easy to just, okay, now we're going to fly up to Washington, D.C. And not much changed. It didn't impact too much, but it did make it stronger and better.
That is trippy. What drew you to having it in a New York setting instead of maybe Washington, 1930?
I think I think New York is such an iconic setting in movies and books and everywhere really, that it's easier for people to place themselves there. Whereas if it's Seattle, you're like, well, I don't know that much about Seattle, so this is their problem. Mm-hmm. But like, New York, everyone's seen it in movies. Everyone can place themselves in New York because they've done it a million times before.
So besides everything historical, all of that mishmash, at the center of this is a romance. How was that? How was writing a romance for you? How'd that go?
It was fun. Like I said, I watched a lot of Titanic, but I changed enough of it to be, more realistic. I wanted to write a male lead who is sensitive and kind and that doesn't impact his manlyhood, because you don't see that too often. So that was my motivation for Thomas Kelley, who is the male lead. And then Annaleise is fiercely strong, fiercely independent, but also very sensitive and scared and naive. And so they just meshed really well. And their chemistry was really easy to write because they were very real people to me.
So from beginning to having the book in your hands, I guess when you pick this back up after a year, how long did this take? What was that whole process for you? What was that like?
So the very first draft after I graduated was a screenplay.
Okay.
Because I worked in the film industry. And after that writing group tore it apart, I was like, that's it. They're right. This isn't going to work. Whatever. And I put it aside. And then in January of 2020, picked back up again and decided to turn it into a book. And I think it was from January to May was doing the adapting of from screenplay to book, rewriting everything. And then after that, I was querying agents, trying to get somebody to publish it. And I got a lot of really good responses, but it just wasn't right. And I had somebody from St. Martin's was really interested in it and gave me like 4 pages worth of notes. But she ultimately passed, and it ended up being for the best because I wanted to self-publish. And so from start to finish of rewriting to now, like a year and a half.
Okay.
COVID.
COVID. Adapting from a screenplay for a first draft. That is actually, I like that a lot.
It served as like a really intensive outline, which, you know, was a good thing.
Do you think it was easier than starting from scratch with this kind of the screenplay as the backbone?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Because, you know, with the screenplay is mostly just, you know, action tags and dialogue. It's really, really easy to just fill in the blanks and just expand on it, which was really fun to do.
That's super great. More people should probably do that, honestly. So could you tell me some of the things that you could do as a self-publisher rather than if you got this published by somebody else? Like, what were some of the aspects that you really enjoyed?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, the self-publishing part of it was probably more fun than the writing part of it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I got to design the cover and be hands-on with my artist, and Cody, who's here, he reached out to me. He was like, okay, what are we doing for the book trailer? So we got to do a book trailer with one of my other friends. And then I reached out to another friend who I've had for years, and I was like, let's make a theme song for this book. And so, you know, we wrote a song together, and it's been so much fun, so cool. And I wouldn't have been able to collaborate with anybody if I'd been traditionally published. And also it wouldn't have come out right away, because I feel like this is a story that needs to come out now rather than 5 years down the road when maybe people don't care as much.
Yeah. There, the last, I think it was the last, or maybe it was before that, we had Valerie Geary here, and she was published by HarperCollins twice. And for her third book, she ditched them basically and went down her own self-publishing route. So it is definitely it's picking up basically. It's kind of the future of publishing, doing it yourself. And it's super fun, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it for everyone.
Yeah.
Some people, I had a lot of time on my hands last year. So that definitely made it easier. Like, you know, some people, I have a lot of writing friends who are publishing traditionally. That's amazing for them. I'm so proud of them. They have my whole heart. But that's their journey and this is mine.
Getting the feedback from the initial screenplay, did you ever, how helpful was that? Or was it less helpful than you thought it might be?
For the screenplay?
The first draft, at least we'll call it.
From the writing group, it wasn't very helpful at all. It was a group of all men, probably over 60 years old. And, you know, they read it and they just didn't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a story about a young girl, a strong, independent woman running away from her fiance. They didn't like it. They didn't approve of it. And they didn't get the nuances of it. And they told me it would never work unless one of them wrote it. Which, I mean, now I kind of take as more of a compliment because it means they saw potential in it and they felt that they should take that away from me, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. Men are bastards. But compared to that, how was that feedback compared to later feedback? I'm guessing you got women involved.
My entire team was all women. It was
good.
amazing. And it was a complete flip from the first feedback I'd gotten. And obviously the first feedback made me quit it for a year.
Mhm.
But then once I decided to write it and I started sending it off to agents, they all loved it. They all saw the potential in it. They all saw the strength in the characters and in the story. And that really just built me up to go like, okay, I know I'm doing the right thing. This is the right thing to be doing.
That's good. That's really good. So we have two guests with us. They're both going, oh shit. Cody and Mia, do you have any questions for Kayla if you'd like to ask? You'll have to unmute yourselves and possibly turn off your cameras. Da, 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 da. I'm gonna give them 30 seconds.
Hi.
Hi.
What was your favorite part about the whole process of writing it and getting it published? What was your favorite thing that you got to do?
I really loved designing the cover art because it was this thing that was in my head forever. I was like, I want her silhouette and I want, the city in, crossfaded, whatever. So I really loved doing that. And I think I cried for about 8 hours. And then I loved doing the book trailer, which was like such a weird, surreal experience. We were in this mansion and it was Cody and one of another dear friend of mine and my mom and my sister. And, we had Nicole in the dress and the wig, and it was like, and she was reading words that I had written. It was so weird. And I think I, again, spent more time crying after that. Lots of happy crying.
You were in a mansion? What?
Yeah, we were in the Lord Mansion in Olympia, which
Oh
is
my
like
gosh.
a gorgeous location. And it was amazing being there. And then you ended up not really seeing it in the trailer, which is unfortunate. But it helped with the ambiance of the scene.
The actor needed it to get into the
Yes.
character. Yeah.
I think I needed to be in a mansion after all of that. It's like I just need a moment in a mansion.
Mansions are amazing. I love mansions and old things. But let's see. Cody, let's see. Does Cody have a question? I like picking on people during these things.
More. So, sorry, I'm at work, so I gotta make this quick. My question for Kayla is, so you self-published your first novel. Do you have any advice that you would give to like other aspiring novelists who are looking to go down the same self-publishing route? What are the do's and don'ts of self-publishing, I suppose? That's my question.
Yeah, that was my question for the end. Okay, go for it.
Don't pay the money for editing and cover art. Anything else can wait, but pay the money for editing and cover art. Pay the money for editing and cover art. That's the biggest help I can give you. Because, your cover art will get people in, but then if your editing is bad, they won't stay.
So Cody has stolen my final question, which is great.
Thanks, Cody.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my last question for you then. What are you working on next? What's next on the docket?
Lots of things. Working on lots of things. I'm working on one. It's a novella at this point, about a serial killer, which is a lot of fun, and I really love that one. I have a playlist called "I'll Burn Your House Down," so that tells you where we're at with the story. It was supposed to go in Morbid Tales 2, which I think is on the back burner now. And then it, the more I worked on it, it just kept like a snowball, kept growing and growing and growing. And I'm like, okay, this is a novella now. And I'm really excited about that one. My mind is doing this with like, cover art, book trailer stuff, whatever. everything I've been working on for Hooverville for the last year is now on this other one. So
That's great.
it's fun and I'm really excited.
My second last question is, how do you feel having this out?
Tired, relieved.
Yeah.
Like, I put it out there, you know, it's out of my hands now. Whatever happens, happens. But you know what? I did read a lot of, I know you're not supposed to read reviews, but I read like a lot of the first reviews that were coming in, and I sat on the floor crying, happy crying, because I was just like, they like me. So yeah, I feel good. I'm relieved that it's out and I'm ready to do the next thing, because mentally I've been, you know, I've distanced myself from Hooverville for a while now, so I'm ready for the next one.
Well, we like you too, and we are so happy that you were able to join us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right. So Hooverville is available here at Orca Books. If you'd like to get it, you can also get it at orcabooks.com. And once again, thank you for joining us, Kayla. And thank you everyone for coming out today. This was great.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Let's see.